You've probably seen this UI before, or this one, or this one. What do they all have in common? Well, they use the same colors, layouts, gradients. Literally everything is the same.
Oh, hell no!
This is what people call AI slop. Everyone has a slightly different definition, but we all recognize it instantly. So the real question isn't can AI build UI, but rather how do we go from this ugly mess to something actually beautiful, clean and tasteful? Good question. Let's check it out. Let's go! Alright, before I now show you the solution, and with that how to generate beautiful, clean and well-structured UI using AI, we need to dive into the root cause. In other words, why does AI slop even exist? And before I answer that question, I need to ask you a question. What tools do you use to generate code using AI? Now you might say, hey Jan, I use Cursor, Claude Code, or maybe Codex. And all of these tools do the exact same thing. They are interfaces for LLMs. So whenever you use, for example, Cursor, you use in the background an LLM, Opus 4.5, GPT 5.2, or Gemini 3 Pro. Who knows? Now you might say, okay, Jan, and what's the problem? Well, these are general purpose LLMs. They are trained on literally everything. Mathematics, biology, physics, maybe a bit of writing, so philosophy or something like that, and a bit of code. So they are not specialized, which might be a good thing in certain use cases, but for our specific use case, this is a big problem. We need a specialized agent that is specialized in front-end code and that understands what good code and what good front-end code actually is. But now you might say, wait, Jan, stop for a moment. But this is not true for back-end code, right? Well, yes, that's true. Why do LLMs exceed in back-end code generation? Well, it's relatively simple. In back-end or whenever you write back-end code, there is no concept of beautiful UI or something like that. You have very binary correctness. Either the code works and compiles, or it does not work. That's it. You don't really rate the result or anything like that. And it's also very easy to define specific rules on how to generate back-end code. That's why LLMs, or in other words, general purpose LLMs, work so well for back-end code. But why do they fail whenever generating front-end code? Whenever looking at the front end, you have to look at two things pretty much. First of all, does the code even work? Does it compile and does it run? That's point A. This is very similar to back-end code. But there is another thing that's very important, and that's, does it look nice? Is it visually appealing? And that's where LLMs fail. Yes, they can write HTML. Yes, they can write front-end code. But can they create something beautiful? No. And the reason for that is relatively simple. Front-end design is not one singular thing. Front-end involves spacing, hierarchy, colors, rhythm, balance. So there is not just one thing that the LLM has to nail, but a lot of things. And that's also what Theo mentions right here pretty much. Playing with Sonnet 4.5, dumping my thoughts here. No meaningful improvements on UI generation thus far. Still loves the purple pink gradient too much. Now I think we can both agree on that this is AI slop. And that's why it's so hard for LLMs to generate code that looks nice, looks clean, is unique, and so on, because an LLM does not have any taste and intent. So the logical conclusion is AI slop is not a prompting problem. It does not matter how well you prompt your LLM, it does not matter what prompting strategies you use, the end result will almost always be the same, relatively mediocre. And with that, I don't really mean beautifulness, like what is even beautifulness? Is this page beautiful or not? Who knows? This is a relatively subjective question. Some people might find this right here beautiful, some people might find it ugly. Who cares? A great user interface and with that great user experience consists of beautifulness. Sure, a page should look somewhat nice, somewhat aesthetically pleasing, but it should also be mobile responsive, accessible, the code should be clean, the code should be performant, you don't want 10,000 use effect hooks, and so on. So what we have right here is the tool mismatch problem. We use the wrong tools for our specific tasks. So what we need is a front-end specialized agent that can handle all of these complexities. We need an agent that has the capabilities, that has access to the browser, that has access to the news documentation, that knows everything there is about the front-end domain. And also, here's the most important thing, we need an agent that understands UI as a system. So now you might say, okay, Jan, please stop teasing me. What's the solution? What's the answer to all of our problems? Well, the answer to all of our problems is Kombai. Kombai is the best agent for real-world front-end tasks. Kombai is the domain-specialized AI agent purpose-built for front-end development. It combines specialized front-end skills, deep browser access, and a dev-like understanding of your repo. Use it to build, refactor, test, and improve every part of your application's front-end. So Kombai can build beautiful functional websites, add new components, code in any stack, and consistently reuse components. Because again, beautifulness is one aspect, but there are so many other things that are important to create a beautiful, well-working front end. So instead of forcing a general AI to do all of the front-end work, we will now use Kombai, which is purposely built specifically for this problem. And I found out about Kombai when I saw this tweet from the CEO. Introducing Kombai, the first AI agent built for front-end development specifically. Kombai vastly outperforms sorter models plus generic agents in real-world benchmarks. In this video, they show how they add a complex new feature to an OSS codebase with 500,000 plus lines of code. And that's why this tool is so interesting for our specific use case. Now, to be super transparent with you, this video is sponsored by Kombai. But here's the thing, I won't sugarcoat anything. We will dive into a real project, into an existing code base, and we will test the limits of Kombai and how it works in a real world scenario. So let's go. To get started with Kombai, the first step is to install it, correct? So you can use any of your favorite editor, but in this case I will use Cursor. So I already installed Kombai, and in my extensions I can also see it right here. This is the Kombai extension and we can get started right away. In this case I'm also logged in, and that's what I would also recommend you to do. They offer a very generous free tier, and that's what I also used for the longest amount of time. And trust me, it's very, very generous. But now you might say, okay, Chan, how should we get started? What should we build? Good question. So I think you all know what Marshall Code is. Marshall Code is my personal web application. And you know what? It's completely finished and it looks kinda nice. I have a home route, then this free tutorials route, and then this Next.js course route. Now this web application is finished. But here's the thing, I'm currently rebuilding and rebranding it. So this is syntax path, and as you see here, the free tutorials route is empty. No, I just rendered the title. That's it. Let me quickly show you the code. This is the code. I fetch my data needed, so I call my procedure, I get my data, and I render the title. That's it. We want to render a grid, or I want to render a grid with all of my tutorial cards. So 3 columns in total. What can we use for that? Right, Kombai. Let's go back. I will open the Kombai extension. And before we even get started with this input and I say, hey, make my page beautiful or something like that, we need to configure Kombai. And by the way, this here is also very similar to, for example, Claude Code or Codex, which means we have the same interface. We can then select the mode and then also the agent variant, high, medium, mini, and so on. But we will dive into that a bit later on. What I want you to do right now is click on this button. On the bottom there is like a footer and you will find a button called tech stack. Click on it and what you can now do is configure your tech stack. And before I even explain why this is important and interesting, let's first of all click on this button called Scan Workspace. It will now automatically scan our repo and find tech stack preferences, as you see right here. This will now take a minute or so, and once finished, you will see something relatively interesting. Alright, it seems like Kombai is completely finished. It successfully scanned my repository and it identified the following tech stack. Let's analyze it. I will close this, and this looks correct to me. I use React, Next.js 16, TurboPack, Tailwind v4. I also use the app router, TanStack Query for my API client. I also use PNPM, PostHoc. This is all correct. And now why is this important? So Kombai will now use this tech stack exclusively throughout the application when generating code. But there is another thing that Kombai will now do. Once the tech stack is defined, it will also apply best practices from its context engine. As mentioned, Kombai is not just some sort of weird LLM wrapper or something like that. No, it's a front-end specialized agent and it has its own context engine. So whenever you now define your tech stack, for example right here, I now use Next.js 16, it also automatically has access to the newest documentation for this specific Next.js version. And I think we can both agree on that this is super powerful. You don't have to copy documentation anymore and paste it into your LLM, or for example use some sort of weird MCP. No, everything is done automatically by Kombai. And since we are now finished with our tech stack, we can also continue. And here's a quick FYI. If you want to, you can also manually add your tech stack right here. So if you use Zustand, for example, you could now say Zustand and so on. But this is not really needed since the automatic selected tech stack is correct for me. Let's now continue with component indexing. So in the navbar, you will find this button. And why should we index our component library? Well, again, before I explain it to you, let's first of all select it. So here we have this drop down and I will select the components folder because all of my components live in the components folder. Wow! I will select it. You can select multiple folders and I will click on start indexing. Why is this interesting? Why should we let Kombai index our component library? Well, it's relatively simple. Kombai indexes your code base to understand the behavior, appearance and props of your components. This allows it to intelligently reuse them in generated code, ensuring a clean, maintainable code base without duplication, and you can add up to 10 folders to your index. In this case, I only added one folder. It found 82 components, and that's correct. This is important because I think you all know whenever you use normal LLMs, they often start to use or create their own custom components, which is often not needed. In this case, I use shared C and UI. It has almost all of the components needed, so I want my LLM to also use these components. And thankfully, Kombai has this functionality. It now indexed the components and it will also use them. And using this indexing, it also understands them now even better. And since we are now finished with the configuration, we can also get started by prompting Kombai to actually write code. To get started, I will first of all zoom out a bit so that you see something, and I will also create a new session by clicking on this plus button, just to have a new context window and with that a fresh session. And how should we now get started? Well, option 1 would be to just prompt Kombai. I could say right here, hey Kombai, create the free tutorials route, make it look nice, whatever that means, and write the code. And for the mode we could use code so that it writes code, and here for the variant we could use high because it excels in complex problem solving. Sure, that works, that's totally fine, but actually there's an alternative, something better. Here's the thing, what do I want to do? Well, essentially I want to create this design, but I'm not really sure if I want to copy it one to one. I want to actually tell Kombai that it should code up like 2 or 3 examples, and then I will choose whatever I like. Now, how can we do that? I could, of course, now go back and say, hey, create 3 pages or something like that, but this would be stupid, because actually Kombai has front-end skills. So you can type a slash in Kombai's chat input box to check the supported skills. And one supported skill is create wireframes. Now, what exactly is this skill? First of all, this is a design skill, and Kombai uses this create wireframe skill to generate wireframes aligned with your specific information architecture and data presentation needs. When you run create wireframes, Kombai asks clarifying questions to gather more details about the specific layout options you want to consider. And this is very powerful. Let's test it out. I will go back. Let's use the slash command. We now get a few options, design skills, and yes, we want to create wireframes. The next step is to describe the wireframe to create, and optionally we can also use images. That's what I will do. I will screenshot this section and then I will upload it right here by attaching an image. This looks good. The screenshot has been attached, and now I need to prompt Kombai. And now to save some time, I will use Super Whisper, which is a speech-to-text software. So I will say, hey Kombai, how are you? No, I'm joking. So I want you to create a few wireframes, 2 or 3, for this free tutorials route. I want you to create 3 columns, and each column should have a card. Now this card should render first of all the thumbnail image. Then I want to render the title, the description, the duration, also like the level. Is the tutorial for beginners or intermediate? And then at the bottom, I want to render a button which says maybe view tutorial or view details, something like that. I also attached a screenshot for a bit of inspiration. Please get started and create a few nice options. And to be super honest with you, this is not like a perfect prompt, but it's relatively good. It's relatively detailed. So what I will also say right here is, if you have any questions for me, then please ask them. So with that, if Kombai has any further ideas or something like that, it can then ask me. I will now click on send and this will now get started. This will now take a minute or so, and if it has any questions, it will ask me them. If not, it will get started right away with the wireframes. This will now take a bit, and once finished, I will come back. So as you see here, Kombai now has a question for me. What additional features would you like to see in the wireframes? Just the basic card grid, or maybe add filtering / sorting options. You know what, maybe like a drop down to sort based on the created at timestamp would be quite cool. So that's what I will tell Kombai. Hey, I think option B is quite interesting. I want to have a drop down, and with this drop down the user will be able to sort based on the created at timestamp. So either we can order ascending or descending. And that's already it. Kombai now has all of the context needed, and it will now get started with the wireframes. This will take a couple of minutes, and as you also see here, it now uses HTML. Now you might say, wait, why does it use HTML? It will make sense, trust me. So let's wait for it to finish, and then I will show you everything in detail. Alright, it seems like Kombai is completely finished. It created 3 distinct wireframe options for my tutorials page. Option 1 is a conservative layout, option 2 is an enhanced layout with filters, and option 3 is a compact grid. Okay, this all looks good to me. And if I scroll a bit to the bottom, then you will also see that I now get this section, suggested wireframes, open all. Okay, I will do that. I will click on this button, and these are the wireframes. So as you see in the navbar, we have 3 options. Let's check the first one. Oh wow, this looks beautiful. So I get the drop down to sort based on the created at timestamp. I see my cards. I get the title, the description. I also right here get the status, or not status, like the duration, and then also the level, so beginner, intermediate, etc. The button looks beautiful. Okay, I'm a big fan of option 1. Let's check option 2. Okay, this is also interesting. I can sort based on the created at timestamp, and then also based on the level. I also like this quite a bit, and this also has like this nice hover effect. Does this have a hover effect? No, this is a bit more conservative. And let's check option 3. No, I don't like option 3, to be quite honest with you. I honestly think that we should use option 2. It looks super fancy and I like it quite a bit. And before we do that, here's one thing I want to mention. This is not my normal browser as you see here. I'm not logged in, I don't have any Chrome extensions enabled. This is a new browser tab. What exactly is this? Well, if you go to the documentation, which again is your best friend, then you will see that Kombai has a browser integration, a native browser integration. So Kombai can launch, access and operate a Chrome browser, enabling you to test development websites and web applications and perform automated browser-based operations. The Kombai agent operates within its own dedicated browser profile to keep it separated from your regular web browsing. This is very important. As a result, it appears as a distinct application in your dock. As you see here, this is the browser, and you won't have any of your accounts logged in. You can manually perform browser operations using element selection tools or let Kombai autonomously control the browser to perform tasks and test applications. And if you go back and look at the bottom right, then you will see this little card, and if I click on this expand button, then I can actually now interact with my agent from the browser. So I have a few options. I can select an element. If I click on this button, then I can select this div or this big div or this little div, or I can also create a screenshot. So this will now allow me to snip something. I can select this and this will now automatically add this screenshot. Do I want to delete something right here? I guess sure, I can select this div and then I will say, hey Kombai, you know what? I want to just sort based on the created timestamp, no need to sort based on the levels. That's it, I now have my prompt and I can click on send to agent. And if I go back to Cursor, then you will see the prompt right here. It got ingested into Cursor, into the extension, and also Kombai is finished. So if I go back, oh yeah, this is completely finished. It now removed this sort by level and we just have our sort by created at timestamp. I think we are finished. I'm happy with option 2 and now I will prompt Kombai further. And one thing that I have to mention is that this is currently HTML. This is not JSX or anything like that. That's because this is a wireframe. This is there to test things out. And now we can prompt Kombai to actually recreate this wireframe in actual JSX. Here I will now say, hey Kombai, I'm happy with option 2. Let's please code it up. I want you to create the code in the free tutorials route, use my tech stack and get started. Kombai will now get started working on my prompt. It will take the wireframe and convert it into actual JSX. Right here it also added all of the steps. This all looks good to me. This will take a few minutes or so. So once finished, I will come back. Great news guys, Kombai is finished. Perfect, I've implemented the tutorials page with all the features from option 2. What I've added: header section, controls bar, 3-column grid layout, tutorial card, hover effect, sorting functionality and loading state. Okay, I'm excited, let's see. 1, 2, 3 and... wow, this looks beautiful. So we get the title, then I get this little description. We get this sorting bar, that's how I will call it. I can sort by newest first or oldest first. Does this work? Let's see. Bam. Oh my god, this works. Isn't that cool? And the UI looks beautiful. Let's see, does the hover effect work? Bam. It works, and this is super smooth. Let's compare this to the original. So this is my website Marshall code, and honestly, let's see. I feel like this looks actually even better, and my implementation does not have any hover effects, but this implementation has beautiful hover effects. And also this is something a lot of people don't know, but right here this border is actually broken. So my image border roundness, whatever you want to call it, is bigger than the actual card roundness, which makes it look a bit weird. I'm not sure if you see this, but if you zoom in, then you will see that this is broken. But we don't have this issue with the Kombai implementation. This is perfect. Let's review the code. I will make this a bit smaller. So let's see, what do we have here? I will zoom in a bit. So I fetch my data. This is all fine. Kombai added this use state hook for sorting. That's also fine. Then this use memo hook. That's very good. So with this use memo hook, we can memorize the value. This is very good for performance. And the code is good. We use the shared C and UI components. Kombai did not create its own select component. No, it uses the shared C and UI components. And in general, the code looks super clean. It also uses the image component. This is one issue that I have with most LLMs. Most LLMs can code a website sometimes, but they literally forget to use the image component, link component, etc. because this is a Next.js application. Next.js has a lot of features like the link component and image component, and often normal LLMs don't implement them, but Kombai did it automatically. It uses the image component and it uses the link component. Honestly, I think we are finished, and if I do a hard refresh, I get this little pending state. So there are two things that I would like to change. First of all, instead of just rendering loading tutorials, I would like to have a skeleton. I think this will be a bit more professional. And also, I would like to implement a search bar, and this will allow the user to search for a tutorial. So here's what I will do. Let's go back. I will again open the Kombai extension. I will make this a bit bigger so that you see something. And what I will now do is actually create, or should we do it in the same session? Sure, why not? Because we only used up 51% of our tokens. Before now prompting Kombai, I will also change the mode. Instead of using code mode, I will use the plan mode, and this will allow Kombai to create a structured plan before coding. I will select this, then high is fine enough, and now it's time to prompt Kombai. Hey Kombai, this looks absolutely beautiful, good job. But there are two things that I want to change. Currently our pending state is very simple. It just says loading tutorials ... Instead, please use the skeleton component and make the loading state look a bit nicer. And also, I want you to implement a search bar next to this order by or sort by dropdown. This will then allow the user to search for a specific tutorial. Also implement debouncing and whatever other best practices there are. With all of that information in mind, please now create a good plan. This is now finished. This is my prompt, and with this prompt, Kombai will now generate a plan. It won't write any code. Instead, it will create like a markdown file. I can then review it, and once reviewed, Kombai will be able to actually write some code. This is now the plan, as you see here, plan.md, and we can now either edit the plan or approve the plan. Let's quickly check it out. Loading state enhancement. Yeah, this looks good. So this is the skeleton card structure. We have a thumbnail area, then the title area, the description area, duration and level badges, and then view tutorial button. This looks good to me. And then for the search implementation, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. And by the way, here at the bottom, you instantly also see the to-dos, 9 in total. And once I now approve the plan, Kombai will actually get started by coding up the plan. So it will now take the plan, it will follow it and write actual good code. This will again take a few minutes. Once finished, I will come back. Alright, it seems like Kombai is finished. Okay, I'm now super excited to test it out. Let's go back. I will do a hard refresh and let's see. Oh my god, the skeleton is perfect. It's pixel perfect. Do you see that? Oh, wow. And does this search tutorials input work? So let's search for Next.js. No tutorials found. And if I say next.js, 2 tutorials found. And this also is debounced. So if I type something, it does not search, but once I stop and wait for a bit, it instantly searches, and we even have an empty state. 0 tutorials found. Let's quickly look at the code. This is our skeleton loading component. We use the skeleton component. That's correct. Oh wow, they even use aspect video. That's good. Let's continue. So I fetch my data. That's all fine. They added a use effect hook to debounce the search term. That's correct. That's what you want to always do. Trust me, this is very important and a best practice. Honestly, this is everything I ever wanted. And now, is it mobile responsive? Well, let's test it out. I will make it a bit smaller, and yes, it's totally mobile responsive, as you see here. If I make this a bit bigger, it actually gets bigger. The columns update. But now there is one more thing I want to show you guys, and that's actually a front-end skill that Kombai offers. As you already know, we looked at the create wireframes skill, but they also offer a skill called review design, and also suggest themes, improve accessibility, improve SEO, which is very powerful. But I want to show you this review design skill. So what even is it? Kombai uses the review design skill to generate a comprehensive review report of the complete UI UX design of your app. This helps you ensure the design is visually appealing, user-friendly, responsive, and highlights the brand and identity. When you run review design for a particular page or route, Kombai asks clarifying questions to gather more details about the specific design aspects you want to review. Okay, sounds good. Let's test it out. I will go back. I will open the extension. Then inside of here, I will now open a new chat session. I will also zoom out a bit. And for the mode, this will now be code, and I will use my / command, and I want to review my design. So what should we do inside of here? Well, first of all, I don't want Kombai to review any page, but a specific page, this one. So what you can do is use this @ symbol, and this allows you to add context. So I want to add this page.tsx, this one, this looks good to me, and then I will again use super whisper. Hey Kombai, I want you to now review this specific page, and I want you to literally review everything in terms of UI and UX. Check if everything is mobile responsive, check if the theme is consistent, check if the design looks good. In general, do everything that is needed. That's it. This prompt is relatively simple, but I think Kombai will understand everything. I will now click on enter. Now this will again take a few minutes. Kombai might ask me questions. So let's see. It has a few questions for me. What type of review would you like? Review current implementation, reimagine the whole page? Nope, I want to say A. It should just review the current implementation. Then for the second question, which aspects should I focus on during the review? Honestly, all of them. Visual design, UX, usability, this all looks good to me. So I will say H, all of the above. And then any competitor sites or designs you admire? No, not really. There are no competitors. So I will say B, and that's it. I will now click on enter. Kombai now has this added context, which means it will now create an even better result. Let's wait for it to finish, and then we will review the document that Kombai spits out, in other words, generates. And now here, for example, Kombai uses the browser integration, and in this case specifically the automated browser capability. So Kombai can now navigate pages, it can click on things, it can make things smaller, and so on. This is super powerful. So if I go back, it now says interacted with browser. If I again go back, you will also see right here that it now makes everything a bit smaller to check if this is mobile responsive. This is perfect. So this is the automated browser. At the start, we just used the browser itself, so we were the automator, but now Kombai automates everything itself and checks everything for us automatically, which is very good and very powerful. And also, if you go back to the agent, then you will also see right here, test mobile responsiveness at iPhone 14 viewport. We even get a screenshot. Isn't that cool? And again, if you go back to the documentation, that's what I meant with autonomous agent operations. Let Kombai autonomously navigate, click, and interact with web pages to execute tests and tasks. That's what Kombai is doing right now. Alright, it seems like Kombai is finished and it generated a design review report. I will open it and let's review it together. This is the design review date, route, focus areas. We get a summary, and we have quite a few issues. No, why? Hey, that's fine, don't worry. So first of all, search input missing accessible label. Okay, that's very important. Sort select dropdown missing accessible label. So we have a few accessibility problems. And by the way, we even see how important the issue is. So if we should fix it right now, or maybe in a month or in a year, we also get the category. So this is an accessibility problem issue, and we get the location as you see here. Now, of course, not every issue is important. No clear search button when search has text. This is not super important, but I think we both in general can agree on that this design review is very powerful because it can now help us or pinpoint exactly what problems our page has and how we can fix them. Because as you see here, it now also gave me detailed recommendations. Mobile responsiveness, priority high, what else? Accessibility improvements. And what I can now do is copy everything. So this whole design review with all of the results, I can open Kombai and paste it inside of here, and Kombai will automatically fix all of the issues. Honestly, Kombai is a huge game changer and a huge shortcut. Now, I have been coding with AI already for quite some time, 1 year plus, and this has always been a big problem. So LLMs plus front-end code, it was never perfect. But with Kombai, I now finally found the missing piece I have been looking for many months. It's so good. Trust me. And what we built right here here, this will actually be shipped into production. At some point in the future, you will see syntax path on the web, and then you will find this exact section, the one that we just built using Kombai. And here's the thing, Kombai has a lot of other features that I did not even mention in this video. Like for example, they have a native Figma integration. Kombai also has a big resource library with inspirations, animations, brand assets, and so on. But you can test these features out yourself. If you want to see a video in the future where I, for example, test out the Figma integration, then let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's already it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and my heart, so please do it. Thank you Kombai for making this video possible. Don't forget guys, Kombai has a super generous free tier. You can get started with Kombai in your favorite IDE. But yeah, I think you now know enough. See you in the next video. Enjoy your day and bye bye.